Hey guys, welcome to another East Coast Rams podcast. I'm your co-host here, Ashton, with my awesome co-host. We always like to bring them on. Soup, how are you feeling?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Excited to be
I'm
back
doing
talking
good.
Rams.
Oh yeah, man, it's always fun. The Rams are definitely one of the most boring teams. Nothing to talk about ever, no drama.
Nothing,
But
nothing ever.
at least here in Virginia, we are finally getting our first warm kind of weather. So it is actually starting to be a little bit toasty, and my AC picked a great week to die out on me.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah, fantastic, perfect. But everything's going good. A lot of stuff going on with the Ramley. Our Twitter account. I won't name names, causing issues, causing some people to be a little upset, throwing
Uh,
some fuel out there. But some of you guys need to take that stuff a little bit more lightly. I'll just put it that way.
yeah,
Have a
they could
little
also they
fun.
could they could also stop with the baiting headlines too.
Yeah, yeah. People like to get stuff going.
Mhm.
So, Soup, we're talking about the defense.
Yes.
A when we look at the overall stats and like the players, what's the first thing that kind of jumps out to you? Just recapping last year about this defensive group coming into 2025.
Man, um, anybody who's been around a game of football, anybody that's had the chance to play, there's a saying for the defense that the front's supposed to work with the back. Well, I can tell you our front definitely works. I don't know so much about our back, but our front definitely works. And last year, I think you saw what an infusion of talent could do to that line. I mean, first year without Aaron Donald, and it's also our first year that we've had a first round draft pick that we've actually utilized in a while. And Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Byron Young, we that's a mean front, man. It was a really, really mean front. And I thought you saw a really aggressive. You saw, I think, the second most pressures by a rookie. Um, only coming in second only to Nick Bosa. I think he fell short by like
Yeah.
four pressures. It was like 76 versus 80. It was Jared Verse, defensive rookie of the year. I mean, this was a front that just was relentless, and they only got better as the year went on. I will say too that the secondary, as the year went on, after we had some people go down, brought in Kello, got some stability. They stabilized. Not great, but they stabilized, and they were able to stay with their men long enough to help our guys get home, help that front get home. So eventually, the back started working with the front. And even the linebacker stuff started playing really well. Christian Rosenboom, I thought, played well above his talent level. Omar Spates was a breath of fresh air when it came to stopping the run. But ultimately we're still a little soft and squishy in the middle. A little soft and squishy in the middle.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more detail. I will say I think it was a confluence of events, especially after like week 6 and 7, that you started to see some personnel changes. But I also think you started to see this D line really morph into what it would become in the second half of the season. They really struggled to keep contain on not just half like running backs, but also quarterbacks. That was a real big issue. We probably entirely lost that Bears game because of contain not being able to
Yes.
be held. And this defensive front, while young and hungry and like super aggressive, like they had their flaws in the first half, and you really saw like in second half a totally, I wouldn't say completely night and day, but like you saw like the growth, and by the end it was I I think some people were like kind of laughing when I said I thought this defensive front going into last year. I said this last offseason was going to be the best defensive front the Rams have ever had under McVay. And people were like, "How can you say that without Aaron Donald?" Because they actually invested in
Yep.
every position along the line. They never did that with Aaron Donald. They would occasionally invest in like nose tackle and like some people around him, got Von Miller. Like it was always band-aids and temporary fixes. But this is the first time they invested all along the line because they felt like they had to. Like, you can't replace Aaron Donald with one player. You have to try to do it along the entire front. And they succeeded. And we can talk a little bit about the draft too. This is a very D-line defense, or like rich defensive draft. So like if someone falls that's really good, the Rams I don't think we can completely take it out of realm of possibility what they did with Aaron Donald. He fell. They already had a good D line when they drafted him, but they
Mm-hmm.
chose to draft him. So all that to say, Soup, I definitely agree with you. A really good D line and a back end that we're going to have a lot of conversation about. And starting off, let's kind of start off with these safeties.
Yes.
We'll just kind of bunch them up in one whole group. So coming into last year, the Rams signed Cameron Curl, a
Mm-hmm.
guy I was super excited about. I saw whenever I would watch Washington games, he would always pop. And I would always be very, very like, oh, that guy, those players that stick out to you
Yep.
that like you notice over and over when you watch a team in college or NFL. He was always one guy who did that for me with the Commanders. So he comes in. For the most part, the Rams draft Cameron Kitchens, but Quentin Lake comes from the year prior. Jalen McCullough, I was he an undrafted free agent last year
McCullough
or
was
the year
last year.
before? Yeah, okay,
McCullough was last year.
last year. Last year. So you could tell that they wanted to keep Quentin Lake
Mm-hmm.
primarily up there, and John Johnson, I also believe, was also up there starting out with Quinn Lake. Eventually, I think Johnson gets a little hurt, and
Yes.
then that's where you see Cameron Kitchens comes in around week 8 or 9. My timeline might be a little bit off there. What's your take on this safety room?
Um, I really, really love Cam Kitchens. One of my good friends, my brother Mike Williams. He's a huge University of Miami fan, and he was telling me when we took Kitchens, he's like, "Y'all just got a dog," and I was like, "Bro, I don't know, man." I said he doesn't test well. He's never gonna test well, but watch his footage, watch him play. Like he always finds himself in the right spot at the right time. He's a ball hawk and he's a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we saw that start to manifest last year, right? He had some really, really big moments, two huge moments in Seattle that are probably going to endear him to Rams fans for years and years to come, but things to get excited about. I thought Cam Curl, once he settled into the system and stuff and learned to, trust in the guys around him, I thought Cam Curl played extremely well. And I got to say, I was really, really happy with the development of Quentin Lake. I think we have seen flashes of Quentin Lake over the last few years, and he's really grown into a leader on this defense. And stout when it comes to tackling. He's not afraid of contact. I wish he was just a step quicker, but he also seems to find himself in the right place at the right time. And I think he was really good last year at helping anchor that back end. McCullough was wow, what a surprise from that guy, right? I think he
Mm-hmm.
started getting us some defensive turnovers early with a couple interceptions. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks he went back with interceptions. Um, and it was one of those guys that's like, dang, he's going to push somebody for some playing time. And I don't think we've seen a safety like him since probably Mark Barron would probably be the person that I would compare him to, because you can move him down into the box. And you saw that we did bring him down to the box, start using him as, as a backer occasionally.
That's
I
what they wanted Rap to be.
That's what they wanted Rap to be. And I think McCullough's like the better version of that, better ball skills, really, really
Mhm.
smart player. I really like our safety room. Even with John Johnson, like I think John Johnson's forever going to be a fan favorite. I wish he never left us, but I understand why he did. Um, but I honestly think, post injury, just age is nothing against his level of play or anything like that. I just think, man, this is really going to come down to like Cam Kinchens and Cam Curl. These are the two guys that we're really going to
Mhm.
depend on going forward. I would love for us to invest further into Cameron Curl after this current deal, because I know it is such a
Mhm.
short stint. And I don't want to get into contracts and stuff. I mean, eventually we're going to have to say goodbye to some of these people on the defense because we just don't have enough money to pay everybody. And unfortunately, I do think because we feel so good about Cam Curl, because we feel so good about Cam Kinchins, I think and McCullough, I think unfortunately Quentin Lake could be an unfortunate casualty after this season. But
Mhm.
I love the safety room.
That Curl contract was such a steal. I was so happy. Like I was just so enthusiastic with the fact that they signed him and they got him for as cheap as he is. Now, I will say with this safety room, I do like them. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's such an improvement from the 23 safety room. I thought that like had a lot of growing pains. They have issues sometimes communicating coverages, and
Mm-hmm.
they like when they have blown coverages,
It's
they
bad.
are it's really bad. And it's one of those things where it's hard to tell because you don't know the play call and you don't really know who's supposed to be where. So like I don't want to be so judgmental because sometimes all people see is the safety trailing someone when they don't know that the corner was supposed to have like coverage above them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and he's supposed to fall like in middle zone so it's hard to tell, but for the most part, from everything I've seen, their ability to tackle like outside of the Eagles games, I felt like they did a good job of like when people got through the first level, which happened a lot,
Yeah,
they would make that second level tackle, right? Like because our linebackers are we'll talk about
we'll
them.
talk about them. We'll
We'll talk about them, but let's say our safeties were having to clean up a lot consistently after a lot of messes, and I thought they always did a solid job. Not a lot of height in
Mm-hmm.
this room. Cam Curl's the tallest guy at 6'2", but for some guys who aren't prototypical like NFL safeties, like Cameron Kitchens, let's be honest, he was getting cooked his first few games, but
He was.
you could tell when it clicked, it
Mm-hmm.
started to click. And he I would always say this the pod after, I'd be like, yeah, it sucks. I think he'll eventually get it, but he's always in the right spot. He's just like a hair not getting timing wise for either an interception or a breakup. And then he started to get it, and you could tell the game was slowing down for him. So I'm really excited to see what he does in year two, and interested to see who kind of gets the tandem or if they do a lot of three safety sets, which is what I'm kind of leaning towards. They
Mm-hmm.
might do have Lake and probably Kitchens
Mm-hmm.
up top, and then have Curl kind of be that star
Well,
in between role. So
yeah,
yeah.
I just want to defend him just a little bit because I will say yes, you're right. The communication, but I think that's part of the growing pains when you have a young DB room, right? Like when you have that young safety room, and that's not to say that there weren't any vets. Like Quentin Lake's been around for a while. Cam Curl's he's been in the league for like 2-3 years, like, but still you have these young guys that you have to incorporate. And I'm glad that you pointed out with the Cam Kinchins, like you could see it in real time. He knows where he needs to be. It's just the matter of him feeling into the I guess getting comfortable into the flow of the game, right? And just really finding himself out there on the field. And unfortunately, right, these are the kind of growing pains that you could only get through live action. This is not something that you can get, in the off season. It's not something that you're going to get at practice. You got to have those live game reps. That's the only way that you're going to get better. And unfortunately, us as fans, sometimes we're sitting there like, oh man, this guy sucks or he's this and that, right? We get our early judgments out on him. But
Yeah.
if he's rewarded those of us with patience.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was just getting used to NFL speed, and these players, like, they can say it as much as they want. They're ready for NFL football, but everyone is the fastest guy on the team. Everyone can make a play at any moment. So, like, it's the lead of the lead, and that kind of amount of like speed all on one field, like, it takes, like, it looks, I don't want to say it looks easy on TV, but it doesn't look as ferocious as it actually is when you like see it in person, and that's why
Mhm.
going to like games can be really neat to watch. And these young safeties definitely grew. I feel like, especially in the second half.
For sure.
But they were again, they were never really I don't believe they were the biggest problem this year
No.
with the defense. They had their issues, and I felt like you could say once every 3 games, they would give up a big play, and I feel like that's not a terrible, like, rate of giving up big plays. Now, I would say there's better secondaries, it's not an elite crew.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Curl could possibly get there. I think Cam Kitchens is likely to get there. My only hesitation with Kitchens, you kind of said it earlier, his speed
Mhm.
is just a little lacking. He has great instincts. I feel like if he gets a little bit faster, he could be an elite safety. One like you said, we haven't had one of those in a hot minute. You want to talk about cornerbacks next?
Yes. Okay. Cornerbacks. What an interesting year that we had, and I feel like cornerback has been a curse for us for a very, very, very long, long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think the last time that we had some corners that I was excited about that we drafted, that we drafted. Let me clarify, because no disrespect to Jalen, um, probably Jack Rabbit Jenkins and Tremaine Johnson. Those that was the last time that I think I was really really excited about our corner room in terms of what we had drafted. Now, Kobe Durant, really really love him. I thought when he was healthy, he showed tremendous growth, and he showed just the sticking ability to travel and the aggressiveness. There's a couple games there where he gets the interception. If he holds on to the ball, right, like the story's different. That's a win instead of a loss. Um, but those things happen. Uh, I love the fact that we brought back Akello. I know that the fan base is probably like 50-50 on him. What I don't think anybody can argue is we played better on the back half of the season with him playing outside on the boundary,
Oh
accompanying
yeah.
D Will. And I get it. D Will is not who he was when he left us.
He
Um,
was getting picked on.
He
He was
was
getting
getting
picked
picked
on.
on quite a bit between his size and stuff like that. He made a few big plays when we needed him to make big plays, but I do think that that is something that needs to be addressed. I'll be honest with you, and again, this is not a criticism of D. Will the person. This is just strictly what I'm seeing as I'm building the football team and I'm trying to build the defense. I am surprised that he is still on the roster. I get it that we gave him a big contract, but the Rams have shown that they're willing to move off of contracts and eat money. I'm actually surprised that we didn't designate him as a post June 1st cut. Um, just for this,
That's a flexibility thing,
it's a
like,
flexibility thing, it's
for
a
the
depth
draft.
thing. I
Yeah.
get it. Um, I'm really, really hoping with the late acquisition of Emmanuel Forbes late last year.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that a full off season with this defense, that he is truly, truly allowed to compete because say what you want about his slender frame and stuff like that. I think he has all the tools to be a really, really good corner in this league. And I would love to see him get a fair shake. I love the combination of like him and Akello out on the boundary, rotating Kobe in and out. I really, really love the idea of that. The idea that I love even more so than that, because Lord knows we were giving up big, big plays last year. Getting picked on. We like small. For some reason, we draft smaller corners. We want the taller ones, but we draft smaller ones. And Ashton, forgive me, man. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but Cinco might be available. Cinco might be available to come home, and I get it. He's a step slower, but is it really worse than what we've got?
I
Somebody
would put
really want to
him at the star or as a safety, personally.
just bring Cinco home.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that. What's your take on my boy Darian Kendrick?
All right. If you all you guys got to do is go pull up my Twitter profile, just type in DK, and you'll see exactly how I feel about him. He, in my mind, is a liability, and he has not shown me that he can stop being a liability. And the problem with him, here's the problem with that I have with DK. It's the biggest thing for all the improvement that he has made. Because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he hasn't made tremendous strides. He plays large stretches of football well. The problem is he is giving up the big plays or committing the big penalty at the most inopportune times. And every single time that he has drawn that flag or given up that play, it has literally changed the course of the game. It's unfair that it just seems to be him. But I cannot name another player on this defense in this secondary who has been laced with such untimely flags and big plays. Like it's infuriating to watch. And I get that he was a 6th round. It's not like this is a 1st round pick, right? That's a bust. Like this is a 6th round guy that was going to take some time. But man, all I can think back to is the 2023 season, and I'm like, we win at least 2 to 3 more games if DK's not starting. And I don't even know if it was DK that made me so mad as it was, McVay and crew. Like, take him out the game. He's a liability. But I get it. Some people
Our
love
depth behind him was worse, like a lot worse. There weren't a lot of. You had like Sean Jolly behind him. Like you can put Sean Jolly out there.
We had Trey Tomlinson that didn't shake out or any of that stuff. I guess my frustration and some of the frustration that I've noticed from some of the fan base online, if you watch the comments and stuff on Sunday, is like when we have a guy that I think anybody with eyeballs can see, hey, he has some deficiencies. And we have other people on the roster that we have yet to see on game day. I get that the coaches see them and stuff in practice, but we as fans don't see them. And we would just like to rule them out. We would just like to rule them out, put them on the field, because it gets to a point where it's like, can it really be worse than what we're seeing? And again, right? This is why I'm not a coach. That's why I'm sitting here with you, right? We're just speculating. We're just fans that love the team, that just love the game, because everything in me would say, hey, trust McVay and crew. But also, stop putting the people out there that are getting cooked.
Hey, so, like, I do agree. There's a certain level of healthy criticism of, like, certain guys that are in the system that I feel like the coaches just like because they have familiarity with the system, and they just keep them around because it's easier than, like, having to coach up someone new or, like, take a gamble on someone new that could be completely worse, and then you waste your time. So I totally get that. I will say, like, Emmanuel Forbes, he looked bad in the snaps that he was in. Now, new system, like you said, uh, we'll see how he does. I think this next year is going to be very big for him professionally. And if he wants to stick on an NFL roster, he's going to have to do and show something in tape. Whether, I don't know if that means he has to bulk up. I'm not going to tell any NFL player like how they should be size wise, because we've seen people undersized do great things consistently in the NFL. So I just think he has to show something. I still believe in giving him a chance. I think that was a worthwhile signing. I'm all for, like, throwing darts at the board and just seeing what we have with some of these guys. That's why I like the Trey White signing. I like giving him a chance. It didn't work, and it happens. So, like, you got to try to take your shot sometimes, and that's how you get your Darius Williams. That's how you get these people. Caleb Witherspoon's a good example of that. Is he a lockdown corner? No. Me and you are not going to sit here and say he's a top 10 corner in the NFL. But he's top 32. He is a starting corner in this league.
For sure.
And he is worthwhile having. I would like him as our CB2 or CB3. fantastic CB2 or CB3. That's why I definitely get the argument people want the Rams to draft corner with their first pick. I I personally think it's a dead zone, this
Yeah.
draft for corner. I think you either trade back and try to get a corner, or you trade up and get the top guy, the guy Will Johnson, I think, out
Will
of
Johnson,
Michigan.
University of Michigan.
But they ain't gonna do that.
No, they won't.
Let's be honest. I'm an honest guy. You're an honest guy. Soup. If they trade up, it's not for a corner. I would be surprised.
I would be surprised if we trade up and land anybody on defense.
Yeah, they have tried to trade into the early teens, like last year, and then they tried to trade into the early 20s last year or the year before for a tight end. Like they're going for offense. And if you guys didn't see our tweet from like earlier today or yesterday, like the offense needs some work. The defense carried the load. Our team got into the playoffs because of defense. We had a top 10 worst offensive unit if you take away the Bills game.
Yep.
That is how I feel like people don't remember this because of how the season ended and how we played in the playoffs. Because our offense played good in the playoffs.
Sure.
Both games, yeah. Both games. But during the regular season,
it was a struggle.
It was terrible to watch. It was hard.
It was not fun. It was not fun to watch. And I have found myself yelling at the TV so many Sundays saying, why does every yard look so difficult for this team? There are teams in this league that I know we are significantly better than, are better coached than, have better personnel than, and yet we make the most pedestrian offenses look difficult. We can't run a slant. We can't get 5 yards. Every other team in the league, when they need 2 yards, 3 yards, they get it. Us, it's a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of fugazi BS, and a sack or something stupid.
Yeah. It is funny. We only won that Cardinals game because of a miracle catch by Akello.
Yes.
Miracle interception catch.
What a heads-up play.
Yeah. So, like, when you talk about these DBs and, like, this defense, I think me and you just have, like, a lot of good things for the most part. There's holes, like, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But this can be a top 5 defense next year.
It can.
Wholesale. Top 5. You're talking about better than 2020. That's how much I believe in this defense.
Yes, and you pointed it out at the top, right? This defensive front is the best front that we have had, and yes, that means any front that we have had with Aaron Donald. I think because we have invested so heavily at the position, at every single position along the front, like Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Jarrett Verse, each one of those guys presents unique challenges to a defense. It's no longer, hey, just don't let Aaron Donald wreck the game. All 4 of those guys are capable of wrecking the game in their own way, and they only got better and towards the end of the season where they really learn to rush off of each other and get that rotation and stuff going. It didn't matter to them who was eating. As long as somebody does. I think Kobe Turner does so much dirty work inside that he doesn't get the flashy recognition like we're used to from the interior because we've had Aaron Donald sitting in the interior for so long. But I don't think without Kobe Turner doing the dirty work that he did this year, you don't know Braden Fisk the way that you know him. Because it was really Kobe Turner going to work that allowed Fisk to get in there. And that's not to say that Fisk isn't a guy all on his own. But for the first time, I think in a long time, when offenses have to game plan against the Los Angeles Rams, they have to take into account each individual player along that front. It's no more, hey, let's circle this one guy, and then it's just some dudes coming after us.
Oh, and we'll get there soon because I think Puna is a key signing
Yeah,
for
Poona Ford.
unlocking that defensive front, and specifically Kobe Turner, because I feel like he got so many double teams last year that Aaron Donald ate up a lot of, and
Mhm.
we'll see him kind of get unlocked. But going back to the DBs, like, would you agree with me? I think they have to draft 2 DBs this draft. I would say one in the first 4 rounds and one in the second half to try to fight for some of those depth reps.
Thanks for clarifying that because, yes, I do think that we should draft at least two. We do need to
Mhm.
get one. I would say we need one in the first 3 rounds. We need one in the first three
First three.
rounds. Yep. First three. We have been, it sounds bad when you say it like this, but there's no other way to say it. We have been bargain bin shopping for DBs the last few drafts. We always pick them up in the sixth, the seventh, and the undrafted.
We like
And
the
some of these
Goodwill
guys have
DBs,
worked
man.
out. Some of these
We
guys
like
have worked
them.
out.
Yeah. It's
And
like
I like
Goodwill
it.
pants. Some
I
of them
listen,
work out.
listen. I like a deal. Okay? Especially in
Yeah.
this economy. I love a deal. But there's something about being able to go name brand. There's something about not having to get it off the clearance rack.
You got
If
to
you
treat
don't
yourself.
believe me,
Yeah.
go look at Jarrett Verse.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone gets a Jared verse
I
when they
get it,
go shopping next month. I'm just saying.
but it's like my thing is we haven't even been shopping in that section. And all of a
Mm.
sudden we were allowed to be in that section and you see what we came home with. So I would love to see a DB within the
Yeah.
first 3 rounds. And then I'm totally okay with getting one in the later rounds and getting us some more depth. And I really think maybe even during the draft, but definitely post draft, I don't think the Rams are done with the construction of this roster yet. I think they're waiting to see how the draft falls, see what a couple other teams are going to do, because you have to remember, based off of how this draft falls, some of these other players that are quote unquote not available are all of a sudden going to be available if their teams can successfully draft their replacements. They'll be
Yeah.
much more inclined to move on from that. And I think that plays right into the Rams formula. I don't think we're quite back in the F them picks era yet, but I think our front office, Les Snead especially, believes wholeheartedly in moving what could be for what definitely is, right? For proven talent.
Mm-hmm.
So picks are always going to present the risk of, hey, this guy could be good, he could be not. It's an unknown quantity versus somebody who has game tape. We've seen his production in the NFL. We know what they're capable of, right? I think the Rams rely heavily on that. And I would not be shocked if after the draft or even during the draft, you see them make a couple more moves leading up to opening day. I think we're going to be
Yeah.
willing and dealing all the way up to week 8.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of the smoke about the quarterback conversation is them trying to drive up a price for someone to trade back up into the first round if they don't have a tight end fall to them. That's
Mhm.
my personal conspiracy theory. I would love if we trade back to the second round, get Maxwell Hairston. We get
Ooh,
either
I love Maxwell
Arroyo,
Harrison.
get Harrison, and then also get Arroyo or get Beck. Like, dude, I'm so high on Jack Beck. I'm going to get him on every dynasty team I can. Like, oh, dude, it Beck is just such a
He's
good
that's your
player.
guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. Hey, people call me crazy for Bowers. I said I would have traded multiple firsts to get Bowers.
And look
So
at that. And look at him on the Raiders of all
yeah, I
teams.
was well. That
But I'm just saying, like, think about the level of quarterback play that they had over there last year. And you saw
oh yeah,
what he did. You
yeah.
put him with a quarterback that has
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford level talent. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. I like Arroyo though. I think he's underrated as a pass catcher. I really do. So going back to the defense, let's talk about your favorite group here, going a little bit lower, the linebackers, and
Yes.
we'll focus on the middle linebackers because they're a little bit higher up in the food chain. Uh, Man, our linebacking core took a big hit,
Yeah.
lost. They traded away my boy Ernest Jones,
Jones.
which, by the way, everyone in the fan base hated until they figured out he was really good. But they traded him away.
I'm not going to let you say everybody in the fan base hated him because, for the record, I have 2 Ernest Jones jerseys, okay? And I had them long before Bobby Wagner showed up.
But this team just threw him away. No clue what happened there. No one has said anything. We still don't know. He got on McVay's bad list, and we all know you don't want to be there. They trade him away. Man, Soup. Linebacker. They struggled, man. Until Spates got on the field, that not a pretty unit. What's your take on this group? Troy Reader had Christian Roseboom, Kier Thomas is edge, Elias Neal, Nick Hampton.
I don't understand what we are doing. I would say for the second year in a row, but I don't know how many years in a row. I don't know what we're doing with this position. I thought we had a plan going into this year, going into last year. I thought we had a plan, which was re-sign Ernest Jones, get him a running mate. That's what I thought the plan was. And I was excited about that plan. Loved that plan.
Spades and Jones would have been good.
Would have fed families. Okay?
No.
Now we get to see him twice a year in an ugly uniform.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about that because that just irritates me. What is the plan? Nate Landman, we signed him from the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. He moves as if he's in wet concrete. Now, he's a thumper, which is cool. I get it. Saquon ran all over you. Not everybody has Saquon, okay? You can't just keep getting run defenders. You need somebody who can cover a little bit. And Omar, I like Omar. His pass coverage, he's got to develop that a lot more than what he was. And that may never be a thing. That may never be his forte. It may never be his skill set. But you know, if he's going to be the Thunder, I need the Lightning. And right now we've got Thunder, and crap. That's what we've got. Thunder, and crap. I would love to see Elias Neal get some reps back there. Troy Reader, I don't understand how he's on this roster. I was like, I don't get it. We can't give this guy away. I don't get it. Christian Roseboom, I never thought I'd be sad to see him go, but the way that he played towards the end of the season, like, I was like, man, this is a guy. He's doing the best that he can, and he's laying out. He was really great in coverage. Now I've watched him get pancaked. I've watched offensive linemen do disrespectful things to him. But like I told you at the top of this thing, man, like our linebackers, the middle of our defense is soft. It's super, super soft. You can kill us with the slant. You can apparently run straight at us with zero fear because we don't know how to tackle and we don't know how to wrap up with that group.
Yeah. So you said with cornerback, we were bargain bin shopping. With linebacker, we've been dumpster diving for these guys.
Yeah.
Just straight up, just not trying at this position, not investing. That's why I laugh when people like mock us getting a linebacker in the first round. I'm pretty sure like Snead would have to lock McVay in a closet to convince him to draft a linebacker in the first round. It just we've
hated linebacker before McVay got there, so I don't think it's McVay. I think Snead hates linebacker.
Yeah, apparently, I feel like Spates is a solid. Like, finally, we got a linebacker who's solid, who isn't like atrocious in one in like average in the other, like pass versus run stuffing. And I feel like he's like good to average in both. But Troy Reader, like you said, I laugh at all the blackmail memes with him. I can't tell you.
He has something.
I can't tell you how many people, and I joked about it before he got re-signed, and people like were laughing because I was like, oh, they'll just bring back Troy Reader, and they did it. And it's like, geez, like we knew Spates was better like instantly from what preseason last year, and we were all screaming just like put Spates in over Reader,
Yeah.
like he he gets cooked annually like every other play. It's not even once every 5 or 6 snaps. Like Tony Fields, they never gave him a chance. I feel like he could potentially, but like they like their system guys, and if you, man, talking about a good paycheck, if you get in their system, and as long as you don't look at McVay funny, they'll let you live in the locker room. They'll just let you camp out and collect a check.
I just need whatever scouts are responsible for scoping out inside linebacker. Can you please evaluate them on more than what they do on special teams? I'm not interested in a linebacker who is great on special teams. I'm interested in a linebacker who is good on first, second, and especially third down. That is what I would love that linebacker. Okay? Ernest Jones plays for the Seahawks. Fred Warner plays for the 49ers. Can I get an inside linebacker? Please. We have one. One of those guys used to wear our jersey. I'm just saying. And I saw his contract, so you can't convince me that it was a money thing.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. This draft has a lot of linebackers that are former special team aces that will go in the 5th or 6th round. So, like, we'll probably get another one.
I'm just waiting for Jihad Campbell to end up in the NFC West, but not on the Rams. Because that's what happened to us.
I feel like it's going to be like a Branch, where I wanted the Rams draft Branch, and he just kept on falling, and they just kept on moving back to not pick him. And I feel like it's going to be like that with Campbell. But yeah, linebacker needs work. Landman, from all the tape I've seen, I think he's an upgraded version of Roseboom by a hair. Like, yeah, just tad bit. Like, instead of like,
he's slower though. That's my like.
Yeah, but he makes his tackles. Like,
he makes his tackles.
Roseboom was still not fast enough.
But listen,
and he would just
this is what they've reduced us to, Ashton. That's my point. This is what they've reduced us to as fans. We're praying for people that can tackle. That's the bare minimum for entry. You play defense. You should be able to tackle.
Oh,
we're just hoping for somebody that knows how to tackle properly. Jesus,
dude, looking like ping pong balls jumping off of Saquon. That was.
You see what this front office has done to this fan base? We're just praying for a person that can tackle, for a defensive player, for a person that gets paid to tackle the people with the ball. We're paying that they know how to do their job.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to edge. A little bit more, let's say, positive outlook. And we don't have your boy anymore out there as a D tackle trying to be edge, so you don't have to worry about him running around. He's
neither does Buffalo for the first few weeks.
Yeah, PED expansion, random. But so Jared Verse, Kier Thomas, Byron Young. What do you make of this this group, Soup? Because from my point of view, like, I like Byron Young. I like him a lot. He reminds me of Leonard Floyd so much. He's like a clone of Leonard Floyd, where he does like everything good and nothing great or excellent. Like, he's a good tackler. He's a good pass rusher. He's really good in coverage, but he's not great at any of that. And I feel like he's a good kind of sidekick to Jared Verse. And Jared Verse, like, the amount of power, and you kind of saw the same thing with Aaron Donald a little bit. Jared Verse had so much power that people would just run behind him because
Mm-hmm.
he created such a hole.
Yep.
And he was one of the main reasons Contain got broke a lot, was because he was so good at like pushing the tackle or guard too far up the
Yeah.
field. What do you make of this group?
I like it good to start. I think we're definitely going to need some rotational depth in there because, hey, we can say
Oh yeah,
what we want to say about Hoyt, but like he came in and rotated in at some key and crucial times and gave
yeah, good.
our guys gave Jared Verse. Don't get me wrong, the guy has a motor. He wants to be in there. He needs a break. He can't run every single play and play at the level that he's playing. Like nobody has that kind of motor, man. Like we need somebody that when when the guy on the defense comes off the field, teams don't start licking their lips. There still needs to be a threat there.
Yeah.
I it's a strong group. If you told me, hey, this is the group that we're going to start the season with, right? Like, and we're not going to add to this room in the draft at all. I would still feel really good about them going into the season, because I do know that there's a few stragglers out there that there's whispers, and I'm not saying bring them back, but I've heard whispers that Vaughn is interested in coming back to LA, and I'm not saying that Vaughn would make a difference at this point in his career, but like there's a reason why people got excited when Myles Garrett became available and stuff like that, because I think we all know, again, there's no disrespect to Byron Young. I love Byron Young. Plan on grabbing his jersey this year. But I think if you were to, right now, let's say all four of our guys' contracts are up. Fisk, Turner, Byron Young, and Verse. If there's money for three of them, who's the odd man out? Tell me.
For sure it would be
You know who it is.
it'd be Young. Yeah, it'd be
It's
Young.
Young.
And I would have liked signing Bosa because of that. Like, I thought, like, you put Bosa on the opposite side and you just mix in Young.
Yeah. I think we don't necessarily need another star. Would love another star, right? If you told me we could get another Jared Verse and put him on the opposite side, I'd say yes, sign me up for that yesterday. But the likelihood of that happening is really, really, really low. But I think if you get somebody that is good, that can rotationally come in there and still, play key critical snaps on third down and apply those pressure and give our guys a break, I'd love that. Would I love for us to draft somebody in the that could become that person? I think if you drafted another Byron Young, I think that's a win. Because I think Byron Young is a really, really good player. I just don't see him getting to a second contract with the Rams, and not because of his level of play. I just think that we're not going to have enough money to pay the other guys, and they're going to think, hey, it's going to be more important that we pay these other guys. And I know that's looking way too far down the road for some people, but I think that's the level of edge that I would like to see us acquire. Let's go get another Byron Young type guy, somebody who's going to come in, be sold out. He's committed to getting better every single season, because you can say whatever you want that Byron isn't great at this, that, or the other. His leap from year 1 to year 2, exponential. I think he's going to do it again from 2 to 3. I'm very excited to see him continue to grow. And I think, again, he's a very, very smart player. We have a lot of players that run on instinct, but I think he only got smarter as the year went on. He really started to understand the flow of the game, started to understand the different schemes and the stunts that the defense was trying to do, and situationally where those things would be most effective. And he really started to trust his guys up front. So that way it didn't matter where they're lining up, him and Verse switching sides, doing whatever, right? They can do the inside outside stunts. Get me another guy that's that level, that loves the game like he does, and is big and physical, because he's fast too. He doesn't have the power of Jared Verse, but he's got speed. I'd love to see that. Maybe somebody a little bit more bendy, right? I'd love to see somebody be able to really get under some pads and around folks. But yeah, I'm happy with I'm happy with what we got. Give me let's spend another third, fourth round on an edge, and I won't be upset.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's like a third or fourth round, kind of like Les needs special. He likes finding a lot of these role players, especially when the roster is more pre-constructed. And I feel like now we have the roster where you can go after role players for someone specifically because you like their bull rush or you like their swim technique and be like, okay, I don't need you to be able to carry every down anymore. We got our two guys to do that for now. Let me see what you can do to help those two when they take reps off.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see what kind of direction they go. I definitely think they'll draft an edge, maybe two, but this isn't the best edge class. It's a good interior D line class, but the edge is a little bit top heavy, I believe.
Yeah.
But
I see us going defensive tackle.
moving on from edge to defensive tackle, we pick up this offseason Puna Ford and Bobby Brown. Um, you know, had a few issues, rightfully or not rightfully. So, he moved on, went on the greener pastures. Uh, yeah, I just think there's so much talent ahead of him. Like he wasn't going to get what he wanted here, and we needed someone. We needed a big guy just to sit and just make huge tackles on running backs. And I feel like this D line has missed that since Aaron Donald left very, uh, very much. And that was my biggest critique. And I said it all last year. The D line did not have a lot of good reps when it came to stopping the run and just struggling stopping the run consistently throughout a game. And I feel like Puna Ford's going to fix a lot of that. I feel like Brendan Fisk got a lot better at it too
Yes.
in the second half of the season. Like you definitely saw him able to start kind of breaking some of those double teams when they run double teams and being able to reach out and actually grab the guy. Again, like Fisk and like it's so funny when your players are so good at pass rushing that when they do something on like a on when they think it's going to be a pass and it's a run and they go so far up the field it's wide open holes. That's funny. It's a great problem to have, but it's also like a something that you have to hope the players grow into and kind of learn how to move a little bit more with the unison. So what do you make of this group? What do you make like Laurel Murchison? I think he's coming back too.
Yep.
Tyler Davis, I thought he had a few good reps. Dejuan Johnson, like we have good depth pieces, especially for pass rushing, but for like run stuffing, do you feel like we're gonna turn that page and hopefully Kobe Turner can focus back on rushing the passer and kind of using that Aaron Donald knowledge?
Yeah, I think so. Puna Ford is going to bring, like you said, he's going to be that band-aid solution, right? Like
Yeah,
he's bringing just raw stopping power, and he's a big bowling ball of a guy.
he's a man.
He
He's a
is.
big man.
He definitely is, and I mean we've seen him. We've seen him in Seattle. We've had a good look at him with the other team that's in LA. Um, the guy, he makes plays wherever he goes, and he's always filling the gap. Um, I do. I like Tyler Davis. I think there's something there with him.
Mm.
I had a bit of an issue when we signed Puna Ford, not because of anything Puna Ford did or doesn't do. Um, I was one of the people that I was in the camp that I really liked Bobby Brown, and I don't think that we utilized him properly. And I thought had we been able to get him some more reps and maybe utilize him a little bit differently, I liked his upside, especially given how young he is going into this second contract. I thought that we gave up on him a little bit too early, but again, right, there's clearly a timeline on this current build, and he just didn't fit into
He
that
didn't. He
timeline
didn't fit.
anymore. So there's nothing against him that I have. Like, and he was, he has some sour grapes on the way out, and if I was in his position, I probably feel the same way, right? But he got some money. He got some money. He gets a chance to, hopefully go do what he wants to do. So
He
good
got it
luck to
back.
him. Yeah,
He got it back.
he got paid. And I think he was what, a 6th round pick initially? Like he was late,
Yeah, fifth. I think he was
fifth or sixth. Yeah,
a
he's.
fifth or sixth.
But either way,
Yeah,
you made
good
it to
for
a
his
second
draft
contract, brother.
position. Yeah.
So Desjuan Johnson has had a couple of good snaps, like you said, but I think the core right there in the center, if we're talking, and even like Laurel Murchison coming back, I like Big Merch. I just wish he just please stay healthy. Please stay healthy. It seems like that this poor
Oh
guy,
yeah.
every time he touches the field, something crazy happens to him. And it's I don't know
He
how
has good snaps
he
too.
does.
Like, yeah, like when he comes in these rotational, like most of the time it's like in the fourth quarter
Mm-hmm.
when you have like some like dead drives or like dead snaps, like in the second or third series of the fourth quarter. Like he just pops off and gets a sack, and you're like, where did this guy come from? And then he doesn't see the field. Like I think he had one of the highest sack ratings for like a player with limited amount of snaps in the NFL
Yeah.
last year.
He just needs
So
he's just has to be the best ability is availability, right? Like
yeah,
so I
yeah.
love Big Merch. I hope for good things for him this season, but I think our core, if we're talking about defensive tackle, I think you're looking at Braden Fisk, you're looking at Puna Ford, you're looking at Kobe Turner, and you're looking at Tyler Davis. Like that's it. That's what the rotation is. And by the way, I think the heavy rotation is going to be a lot of Fisk in and out. It's going to be a lot of him in and out. Um, I think there's a world where Kobe Turner starts to come off though in these run packages
Oh yeah.
because Fisk was coming into his own and really doing that. I think you could see Puna like there's a world where you see Puna and Fisk on the inside. I think there's even a world where don't get me wrong. Verse, I think you go Verse, Puna, Tyler Davis, and then put Fisk out on the edge because we saw Fisk get out on the edge a little bit when we're in those run situations. So I'm happy with the depth, but again, that's a
Mhm.
position that we saw the value that an absolute freak of a human can bring to the interior of a defense with Aaron Donald. And regardless of what anybody says, those guys don't exist in every single draft. They barely exist in once a decade. The fact that
Mhm.
we had one bless us with 10 years on the Rams is incredible. You find something that's even 70% of what he gave us, that's a
That's a great player.
superstar in this.
Yeah.
So I think because we know the value of being able to create pressure from the interior, I think that's always going to be a position that as long as Les Snead and Sean McVay are with the Rams and they're in their front office, we are going to continue to draft and invest resources into the defensive tackle. It would not surprise me if we spend a fourth or a fifth on a defensive tackle in this year's draft.
Mhm. No, I definitely agree with you. I just love the idea of having loading one side with Fisk, Verse, and Turner, and asking a tight end, a tackle, and a guard to try to block. Because two of those people are going to have to block one on one.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's going to have to block one on one. And all three of those guys are going to cook a tight
Mm-hmm.
end, are going to cook most right tackles, left tackles in the league. So it's definitely a talented group. We'll see if they add to it. But so that's the defensive kind of like overview.
Yeah,
Wait, final thoughts on like the defensive group as a whole?
I'm excited for Chris Shula defense 2.0. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
that's the one thing that we didn't talk about, right? We talked about this, we talked about all the players and stuff like that. But I think the staff that they constructed last year, and even with some of the departures that we had last year, I think
Mhm.
Chris Shula, there was a lot of, screaming early. And I feel like our defensive coordinators are always getting yelled at. Our defensive coordinators are always getting yelled at. They're always the problem. Uh, I'm not saying they're the problem, but I feel like our fan base is always after our defensive coordinator. I can't tell you how many times I saw, "Hey, let's fire Chris Shula, let's fire Chris Shula, let's fire Raheem Morris, let's fire Raheem Morris." Like it's going to be
It's because
okay.
they both give up yards. It's bend don't break. That's why. It's
I
all it's all yard. Get to the red zone, hold on for dear life till the red zone, and then get a turnover, and
guys,
then
what if
get a
I
timeout.
guys, what
Yeah.
if I told you you could fix that strategy with with a blue chip corner and a decent inside linebacker. What if I told you if you stop drafting special teams and sticking them in at starting inside linebacker, we could do a lot more with these
Man, Dollar Tree
defenses?
don't have a blue chip corner. What are you talking about?
I know. But like I said, my final thoughts are, dude, I'm excited for this next version of Chris Shula's defense. I think one more year with him at the controls. You have all of our rookies coming back. Everybody's healthy. They've got a full year with a lot of massive reps under their belt. I like Cam Kitchens in year 2. I like Fisk. I like Versk in year 2. Byron Young and Kobe Turner in year 3. The addition of Poona Ford. I'm excited to see us get a lot more stout in the run. I'm hoping that Omar takes a pretty significant jump, and that as good as he was at stopping the run, that he's worked on some of those coverage skills. I'm curious to see who we're going to partner him with. Akello outside on the outside, I feel better to start the season. Cam Curl, year 2 in this defense, I'm also excited for. I'm curious. Hey, does Cinco come home? Right? Does Cinco come home? Do we draft somebody who can play on the outside? With the Kello. All of these questions, but I think, like you said, there's no reason why this defensive unit going into this year, finishing out this year, there's no reason why I don't think that we can't be a top 10 defense. Dare I say top 5 defense in the league, assuming the health and everything stays
Oh yeah.
up.
I mean, that's
I
true
don't
for
see a
every
reason why
team.
we can't be a top. I don't see a reason why we can't be a top 5 defense. Now, you guys can say that that's the homer speaking to me, but I like what
No,
I saw last year from a bunch of guys that were just trying to figure it out, and pieces that we had to kind of stick together and move around due to all sorts of injury and stuff like that. When we finally found a core group and they were able to stay healthy and stay together, they showed what they were capable of doing. And they're an opportunistic defense, and I think that makes defenses fun to watch. Defenses that take the ball away and defenses that score.
we got a top 5 defensive line already. They almost broke the playoff sack record in 2 games.
Yes.
In 2 games. That is how good of a group they are. So the question is, can we tie everything else behind it together? Get someone in the first, second, or third round corner that can help bridge that gap coverage wise, bring back Cinco, and then also get a linebacker to pair up with Spates. I think we're all money for next year. And, as long as we stay healthy, I think there's a lot of promise to look ahead. And if you're dynasty, I would pick up that Rams defense now while it's out there in free agency. So,
or don't leave it to me.
Oh, yeah. Anything else, Soup, before we head out?
No, man. I appreciate you and Zach rocking with me, continuing to invite me back. Like I said, I always love talking football, always love talking Rams football. I'm excited for the draft. I'm going to take some days off of work just to sit down and watch that and consume content for that. Just selfish plug. You guys will see it. It's coming this Monday, coming out this Monday. In the Pocket, my brand new podcast with my co-host Mike Williams is coming out. We're covering all 32 NFL teams. Just 2 guys that love talking football, a Broncos fan and a Rams fan. We're not analysts. We just guys that love the game. So, tune in wherever you get your podcast every Monday.
Awesome, man. I'll definitely put that in the show notes, and appreciate you always coming on. Love your insights. I feel like we have such good, for fans, we try to delve into it as deep as we can, and we have some good, intelligent conversations. And I know sometimes the internet and especially certain websites aren't the best for that. So I appreciate this open forum and having you on and being able to do that. Well, guys, I think that does it for this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. Thank you all for joining us and supporting the podcast. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms as Soup's podcast also next week. Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads. You can always send your questions and feedback to East Coast Rams And hit us up on Twitter or X anytime at our official account at East Coast Rams. My Twitter handle is at RamsFanAshton1, and you can catch Soups at. You want to go ahead and say yours?
You can catch me at ACDAGDB, AC to GDB on Twitter. Mama named him Twitter. I'm gonna call him Twitter.
Yep. Again, big shout out for Soup for joining on the episode and everyone for watching. Please comment and like if you don't get a chance. And I hope you all have a great week. Is it Tuesday? Man, it's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, but the draft's coming up soon. Football's going to be back here in a few months. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Appreciate
guys.
y'all.